Hey guys, we are live. Welcome to the Bags to Riches podcast. I'm Zach Ginn, your host. I quitted my minimum wage bag boy job to pursue the riches of real estate investing at the age of 17 and never looked back. I'm here to educate and inform entrepreneurs, young and old, how to become complete real estate investors by talking to some of the best and most influential minds of real estate. I'm joined by our guest today, Justin Peters. Justin is a real estate investor and owner of JZ Home Buyers, one of the largest and fastest growing home buying companies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He did over 97 deals last year and is on pace to do even more this year in 2020. So glad to have you on today, Justin.
Yeah, very excited to be here, Zach. Been doing some research on you, man. I love what you're doing. And, man, I'm excited to share some gold nuggets and make sure we can make this time worth your time and the audience as well, man. So ready to jump start into it.
Yeah, so usually I have really big coaches, that mostly what they do is coaches and they run businesses. You're very unique. You run a legitimate, huge business, and that is your sole focus. And I wanted to get you on before you turned into doing 300, 400, 500 deals a year. So I think it's cool to catch you on your journey. So I feel like it's really great. So let's start out with a cliche thing. How did you go from being a Aggie to real estate?
Yeah, so as far as how I became into this position right here, man, I think it's really important to also talk about what got me to become an Aggie in the first place. So I've talked about it on other podcasts that I was on. I was a guy, man, that growing up, my focus wasn't there. I never really had anyone in my family push me on the educational side of things. I had my mom, my dad, both in sales. I was around that my entire life, but the whole educational part, I kind of used that as like my guide or my scorecard on how successful I was going to be in life. I didn't understand that, like, hey, hard work, commitment, and being incredibly passionate about something is going to be ultimately going to surpass all the educational part of anything, right? A scorecard or a grade or report card, it truly does. It means very little as long as you have the rest of the recipe. And so growing up as a high school student, man, I was in the bottom 5% of my class. I got denied into every single college that I applied to, and man, just didn't have any direction whatsoever at the age of 18. And I distinctly remember it was one of the most critical and pivotal moments of my life. I was like, man, if I keep doing what I've been doing, I'm going to keep getting what I've been getting. Like trying to just float by, set the standards of how I've grown up, or, looking at my family or anything else as far as education, and not realizing I have the ability to make that choice to change it all around. And the only person in charge of this is going to be me. Nobody else can do this. And if other people are doing it, this is another key point. If other people are doing it, I know I can do it too. It may be difficult. It may take a tremendous amount of time. It may take me 100 hours, and it may take someone else 1 hour to do something. But I'm going to be willing to put in that work and that commitment and have that perseverance where I'm never going to give up. And I'm going to set out on an agenda to, one, prove to myself, prove to everyone else, and be able to add contribution to the world and just turn things around. So fast forwarding, man, I went to a little junior college, and coming from the bottom 5%, I turned it around and I started making straight A's. I started studying how people were doing well in school, how to organize, how to prepare for tests, things that I never even thought about looking into growing up or even heard about. And then that kind of got me on a track of personal development. You start reading certain things from these individuals. They recommend books. They give you certain advice, and you start seeing trends over and over. And with school, that was my first kind of correction of saying, hey, I just changed it around, literally did a 180 from being this guy where grades never meant anything, where I had this standard that I wasn't ever going to be able to make good grades or make anything of myself. And just from one choice, one commitment, and dedicating myself, I turned it all around. And so what it did is it planted a seed inside of me saying, hey, I can do this with anything when it comes to the business world, when it comes to going after what I want or my vision or my goals. All I need to do is study those individuals that have been there, that have done it, critique it to my own style, be incredibly passionate about it, and also never give up on what I'm going after. And so I started at Blinn Junior College, ended up getting into Texas A&M from just grinding it out, learning how to actually become a student. And going back, man, bottom 5%, I ended up graduating cum laude at Texas A&M, which was absolutely
nice.
mind-blowing to me, my family, my teachers especially. They heard that and they were like, he faked it. Someone had to have been taking this test for him. Right? Not this guy right here. And so what that did though, man, is it got me on a path to where I started really hammering down on books, personal development, really investing in myself, which at the end of the day, man, you can invest in anything else, but I think the absolute best investment in the world is personal development. You're going to get the biggest return on that. You may not see it at first, but in due time, man, when you invest in yourself and really go out of the way to just learn and immerse yourself in whatever it is you're trying to go after, the return's going to be there in due time. And I knew in college, I got my real estate license as a junior in college, knowing that was the path I wanted to take. It was a huge opportunity to help people in one of life's biggest transactions. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I thought real estate was just representing a buyer or representing a seller. I didn't know there was a whole different world out there that we're all used to now, and that's starting to really become popular. But I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew I could communicate with individuals and be there to truly care about them in that next chapter and be a big part in that and give them the service they need and deserve. Was such a big milestone in their life. And from there, man, I went to the oil and gas industry. I had student loans, paid all that off, just a grind of a full year working out in the oil industry, doing a job that I wouldn't want on my worst enemy in the world. But it was a sacrifice I had to take to get a clean slate and then hit the ground running in Dallas, Fort Worth. Started off with a wholesaling company called New Western, kind of learned what wholesaling was. That got me my wheel spinning. And then again, immersed myself, started learning that stuff. Then got recruited by a company called Open Door, really learned the market, how to develop a team, the softwares, all the things that I would have no idea about. So being able to get the exposure to that, I also realized during that time, man, at Open Door, like, as an entrepreneur, you can have the coolest job in the world, man. But if you're an entrepreneur, there's always going to be a voice in your head, a voice that's going to be telling you, hey, you aren't meant to be working for someone else. You're not meant to have a price tag on your head. You need to go and take this on by yourself. If these people are doing it, so can you. That same voice that told me back in the day when I was bottom 5%, I kept it with me. Those same, lifestyle transitions that I had stayed with me, and I was able to go to Open Door and then commit to sinking my ships, starting a company in September of 2017, Jay-Z Home Buyers. And fast forward now, man, the dream is starting to become a reality. I couldn't be more happier for the decisions and, the transition, the chapters that led me up to this point.
Definitely. I mean, from watching some of your podcasts, usually when I go running or something in the morning, I listen to podcasts, the guests before, and a couple of days ago, I was listening to some of your podcasts, and everyone's like, he's a rookie coming out of here, 96 steals. I'm like, this guy's not a rookie. People don't understand. Like, they think you just came out last year and just started wholesaling. I mean, you've been developing this for 3, 4, 5 years. I think that's something that people really need to understand.
Yeah, it's very important. So one thing I'm huge on is patience and engaging in consistent action. So like with any journey, it doesn't matter if it's real estate, it doesn't matter what it is you're going after in life. Everything worth having is an uphill battle. Like everything worth having. If you get it twisted and you're looking for immediate gratification, well, you're playing the game all wrong. It takes time. It takes a ton of effort. It takes sacrifices, and it's hard, but it is totally worth it if you're willing to go through that and you understand these hard times will come, and you're willing to just persevere through those because you have that mission and that why you're going after. And that ultimately is going to be able to push you past the limits where most people would stop. So yeah, absolutely, man. It's something that you have to stay incredibly patient on and know that in due time, if I don't give up and if I'm modeling myself after the right people, results are going to come in no matter what.
Yeah. So what was your major in college?
It was finance and real estate, actually. So I knew that was the route I wanted to go. So it obviously just made sense, man, going in and getting the finance side of things and obviously getting my real estate classes and learning the real estate side in my elective classes. It made perfect sense. I was able to meet a lot of cool people and really kind of, ignite that fuel that I wanted for real estate. It kind of just confirmed that, hey, this is definitely the route I wanted to go.
So what do you say? I know there's a lot of guys not in college. Do you think it helped you in where you became now?
Here's the thing, and it's hard for me to say that because I did go to college, but I see people, I've got a handful of guys on my team that didn't go to college. They have a burning desire to be something great. And as long as you can unfold that yourself or have someone else relayed that to you. Like, hey, you have the ability. College doesn't matter. The limitations you have built in yourself, they don't matter. You can break through all those. I think college is not a necessity. I really, truly don't. There's so many people getting degrees. You need drive. You need commitment. You need perseverance. And I think that's the key to going after and making something great out of yourself. I really do. So to answer your question, no, I don't think college is a requirement to be successful. Absolutely not.
I tell all my friends, I'm like, you guys got to get out of there. You guys got to stop. I went to college too. I hated every second of it, but they let me basically go there and then just keep wholesaling when I was home. So I hated it. The only thing I learned there was to like college football, and I had a public speaking class, but I recommend you guys, don't go if you want to go into real estate. So I think another really important thing that you did also working for, an iBuyer, things like that, they were your quote unquote mentor and they were paying.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something the opposite. People get mentors and they pay them and they don't really get the experience. So would you say that had a huge impact on the way you started?
It did. So a startup company, it was a blessing for me to join that because I was able to see the fact that you have to be very adaptive to change. One thing you're doing week one may be totally different week two. You've always got to be on your toes. And also just being able to immerse myself. So as a startup company, you're getting paid X amount, but you're putting in the effort and the hours that should be way higher. It's just part of it. It's a sacrifice. Everyone has to be doing a lot more than a company that's been established for 50, 100 years, whatever it may be. And so being able to take that massive action and see what it takes for a team to have a vision in place and to work towards that as a unit, it really opened my eyes as far as what it takes to be successful in this competitive world. But it also made me realize, like, there's opportunities for everybody if you're just willing to commit and take it and go after it.
Okay. And when you started to go on your own, you jumped ship, you burned your bridges there. So were you wholesaling by yourself as a lone wolf, just trying to do it all?
Yeah. At first, so I was wholesaling by myself. I started with TTP, Brent Daniels, Wholesaling Inc., the Rhino Tribe, and just kind of got the basics out of the way. And really, hearing Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffine and Brent, man, they're symbolic milestones for me, man, as far as like starting out, because I realized like these are just normal guys. These are normal people that have this crazy desire to be great and contribute to the world. And going back to what I said, man, it made me understand, like, I can do this. Like, these people are doing it. I got this as well. But yeah, I started with myself, and 6 months into it, I didn't get a single deal. So like I was crunching and going after it and just that belief and that faith, like, hey, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. If I give up, I know the answer of what's going to happen. But if I keep going, man, anything can happen. And that is something that you have to have, an unbelievably undeniable faith system that it will work if you're willing to put in that work, immerse yourself, and just never give up on what you're going after.
And when did you start making that transition from a lone wolf getting a high paying job into creating a real business?
Yeah, so I mean, September of 2017 was whenever I decided to, quote unquote, sink my ships. And I jumped straight into it, and that's whenever that 6 month spill kind of came in. I didn't have a whole lot coming my way, but I just kept on pushing and kept on going, and knowing that, like, the consistent action day in and day out. Remember, action and being patient, it was the two keys that I had to focus on constantly, and knowing it was going to work. And then 6 months, man, I think that 6 month mark, we had like 4 or 5 deals closed, and I was like, wow, this works. Now it's time to hammer down and keep this going. We've got momentum now. It was just like a jet taking off. Most of the fuel is used when that jet's taking off. It's the hardest part. But once you're flying in the air, man, that's when the momentum comes in. It's on your side, and you're able to roll with it.
Definitely. So what would you say, obviously your real estate career is very young. You got so much more, but what would you say in the past 3 to 5 years in your real estate career, your highest highs and your lowest lows were?
My highest highs would be knowing that people were trusting me and coming on, and me being able to have the ability and the blessing to show people not necessarily who they are, but where they're capable of going and who they're capable of being. It's been an incredible opportunity for me, knowing that I can work with individuals. I've always been a people person, But taking someone from who they are to who they're capable of being and seeing that evolve and blossom, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world, man. Contribution is something I'm very, very, very passionate about. Like Tony Robbins says, secret to living is giving. Money and all that stuff, man, it only goes so far. You have to have some type of why or contribution for what you're doing. And for me, having a business, it's so much bigger than me. Like it always, at first, obviously, there was selfishness, but now it's selfless. It's not about me anymore. It's about the people that have trusted me, that are on this team, and that I am incredibly blessed to train, coach, and see them reach their full potential. So that has been one of the highest of the highest for sure, being a business owner. Now, as far as the lowest of the lows, man, it's been difficult. You know, like an entrepreneur, I've had, you know, and I just have to be vulnerable about this. Something that I've had to really work on is being vulnerable and opening up and saying, hey, this is how it is. Because I don't want to skirt past the truth. Like I've had anxiety with going after this. There's been some, I guess, depression, like to where I've just been in the absolute dumps wondering, like, is this going to work? Is all this effort, like, do I have the ability to achieve this? Sleepless nights. Like, dude, there's just been a lot of valleys I've had to go through in order to get to some of the peaks that I've got to as well. I think that's something that's so critical for people to understand. Like, if you're going after something, realize it may not be everyone that experiences that, but it's going to be very, very, very difficult at sometimes. But if you're just willing to push through and keep that sight on that goal and the light at the end of the tunnel, man, you're able to accomplish anything. And that's something I want to convey to everybody I possibly can. Because so many people nowadays in our society, our mediocre society, I feel like we give up way too soon. We want it too quick. And if we can just start making people understand, if you just have that perseverance and push through and you're passionate, there's so much you can achieve and so much you can do. And I want everyone to be able to experience that as well. So that's been the low though, man. It's just the hardships. It's just been very difficult sometimes. There's no doubt about it. So
definitely. So that brings me on to the next thing. You know, I think or another reason why I wanted you on here, you do a lot of deals, obviously. And I don't want to call anyone out in the real estate coaching guru aspect, but there's a lot of guys doing a lot of deals, making money, just like you. And, you know, they get some money, they start buying some Lamborghinis, they get designer clothes, and their ego gets very inflated. How have you really humbled yourself? And you obviously have a great business and you're making lots of money, but how have you not let the ego cloud where you're at now?
Yeah, all these are great questions, by the way, Zach. Man, really for me, it's been being humbled by this experience. And like I just said, it's not about me anymore. That's the biggest key. Like once you realize and you have business and you have people counting on you, they're not working for you. Like you're working for them. And if you're going to be a leader or an owner and you're going to have people that are working under you, you've got to understand that. Like if you want A+ players, well, you need to be an A+ leader. You need to be someone that's allowing them to win on a consistent basis. When they're down, you need to be the one that picks them up. No matter how you feel, be that voice, be that empowerment to them to let them know that they have the ability to push past it because you have that confidence to say this because you've gone through those dark times and you've pushed past it. And once you do that in anything, you go through hard times or anything and you push past it, what you do is you instill confidence. Confidence breeds success, right? Success is going to be able to breed your ability to be able to speak out and have that confidence to tell people advice that you may have held back in the past if you didn't go through those times. And so for me, like just going through the dark times and being able to help people on this team and reach their full potential has been absolutely huge on my end. I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of
Oh no, it answers it. I mean, okay. You've been humble before. Obviously, I remember when I was 17, I made my first $100,000 in real estate. That's and awesome. I had a huge ego for like a week. And then I met a guy doing $100,000 every week. And I shut up. I said, you know what? I got to get this guy's level. And I stopped and went back and did it. So that was the only ego I've ever gotten. You know, it's always subsided because, I mean, talking to guys like you, I've talked to guys. I mean, the last podcast had Pace. I mean, he's making over $200,000 in cash flow every single month. And it's how can you have an ego when you're trying to be like these guys? And it's really cool. And that's why another thing I really appreciate about you, but
appreciate
it. So what would you say your craziest real estate story is?
Oh man, that is
everyone's got one.
Great question. So one of the craziest things I've ever experienced, this kind of goes back to like in this business, if you have a core value of like giving and really making sure like you're in it for this homeowner. So I was at a house, and I'm probably gonna have some crazy stories pop up after this, but something that really stuck out to me that I considered a bit crazy is I had a house, run down house. I think we were gonna buy it for like right around like $25,000 here in Fort Worth. And literally I had gone to this house probably 5 or 6 times. Every time I went there as a new family member, I had to sell myself on who I was and how, what I'm saying is going to be 100% authentic, and I'm going to do everything I can to get them onto that next chapter. And on that 6th meeting, I'll never forget, there was someone, they kept telling me about this guy that was interested in buying their house that lived down the road or whatever, another investor that lived on the street. And he came in and offered, literally while I was in their living room in front of 7 or 8 of their family members, came in and offered, had a purchase agreement, everything, $45,000, okay? And because of the relationship I built and because of me literally just being a go-giver and caring about these people and building not just a transaction, but like friends in this, I'm still in contact with them today. Literally, they'll reach out to me just to check in. They told that dude to pretty much eat dust, turn around, and forfeited $20K because of the relationship we've had. It was an emotional transaction to where they knew what I was doing, what I was saying was so authentic, in that they were willing to sacrifice $20,000. And I told them, I was like, look, if you're gonna have the ability to make more money, like I want what's best for you guys. Like I really, truly do. Like take that. If it's legitimate, I'll review it for you, let you know what I see. If there's any flaws in it, like y'all need to take that. Trust me, I want what's best for you in the next chapter y'all going on. And they wouldn't do it. Like they were straight up so committed to me because of the way I approached them. And because of me going out of my way constantly and giving them just undeniable value as much as I could, they were willing to sacrifice $20K, which is an absolute ton to them at this time with being able to move what they were going through. And that just stuck out to me so much in this industry and anything in sales, man. You don't look at the product or service you're selling. You look at that individual. Like how can you help that person? How can you connect with them? How can you find out more about them? Don't worry about the house you're buying. Don't worry about the service you're selling. Like worry about that person, who they are, build a friend out of it. You do that, everything else, it's so much easier after that point. But if you have that in the secondary or tertiary position and you have the money in the first position, it's going to be hard to sell a lot of these people. We had a house yesterday, literally, she got offered $65,000. Our highest and best was $56,000. And she went with us because we weren't being pushy. We gave her the exact truth of where we were at, served her, made sure that she understood that, hey, what we say is what we're going to do. And she sacrificed $9K. That happened literally yesterday when we picked up a house in Fort Worth. And so with me, the craziness, man, is just understanding like sales is not sales, man. Sales is creating relationships. And once you understand that, like the whole game can change and you approach cold calling or everything else in a totally different manner. When someone tells you no, that person wasn't meant to be part of your journey or your chapter. But if you have just a go-giver mentality and you talk to every person, it's going to stick. People will recognize that versus someone that's calling in and just worried about the transaction or the house and money that they're going to be making. It'll separate you night and day different from everybody else if you have the go-giver mentality. And that's something that really has been crazy for me to understand because of how effective it is with anything you're doing in life when it comes to selling yourself or a product or a service.
100%. I mean, it's never about the property, always. I mean, in this market, I think you've seen this in the past 3 years, that there's just more wholesalers, more offers, higher offers than you can even make a profit on, just so they can do a little haircut at the end. I mean, I think last week I had a guy, I actually recorded the conversation in our Facebook group. I literally had a 30-minute conversation, not about his kids, and that was it. And when it came to the contract, he's like, I don't want you to read it. I trust you. And he just signed it. It's all about the relationships.
100%, man. You're right. We went to the house yesterday, for example, like the first 45 minutes, not one thing was brought up about the house.
No.
You get someone in there that's coming in and just going in, yeah, so take me around the house, show me this, and not trying to develop a relationship, you've pretty much already lost. Because if you get someone on our team that's going in there that knows the connection and the rapport building aspect and being genuine with it, we're going to beat you 10 times out of 10. And so anyone going out there, be in a position of giving. Make sure you use lines like, hey, look, my job is literally to reach out to as many homeowners as I can and to add value. we bought hundreds of houses. We've also referred hundreds, if not thousands of people to a different direction because our model may not fit what they're looking for. I want you to know, John, no matter what it is you're wanting, I want to be a solution to your situation. So just understand that now. I'm not going to be one that's going to push you or try to force anything on you. I want to make sure that I give you what you're looking for, whether that's with us or with someone in our network. Is that fair enough? Start saying that to people and see how the guard and how the fence just starts falling down and how these people start opening up to you, and be very genuine when you say it. You can't just say it and to hope that it works and still have the transaction and first priority. You have to literally, really, truly mean that stuff, and it will do unbelievable amounts of dividends for you.
And where did you develop these sales skills?
Going back to personal development, man. I mean,
Really?
I've read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, probably 50, 60 times. Never split the difference. Like, just I've immersed myself in this stuff, man. Like, if you want to earn more, you need to learn more. Like, these guys are geniuses that have devoted their entire lives to certain aspects, and they've written book after book after book after book. Like, if someone comes in and they're wondering why they're not doing sales, I've had a few people I've had to let go, man. I've had thousands upon thousands of dollars of training courses and never even started it. Like, we're talking literally altogether $22,000 worth of courses they could go in. They could create their own business if they wanted to with the education I'm providing them. And they're not doing it. You know, people talk such big games, man, but it's all about execution. It's about knowing, hey, I may have to read this book or listen to this Audible like 10, 15 times, but one little nugget in a 30-minute Audible that you're listening one morning could stick out to you. You implement it and boom, you build off that. And you just immerse yourself in motivational speeches, with books, with reading, with watching the videos and learning the strategies. And you do what other people aren't doing. It's that simple. Like, most people aren't willing to sit there and do it. Like, they're worried about the weekend or what they're doing. Like, dude, if you want to be successful, man, you can't live that. You can't live the 7 to 5 job at first. I mean, in due time you can. There's a point to where, like, all this stuff makes sense where there's imbalance at first, though, is what I'm trying to say. And there's some people that may argue with me on that. From what I've seen, and I've talked to a lot of successful individuals, you know, people are about balance and doing it. Man, if you want to be great and you want to tackle something and create momentum, you got to have imbalance at first. You've got to be willing to sacrifice. You've got to be willing to go all in with your friend, what you do on a Friday night. Be in studying, be in learning, be in going through a course. Go to YouTube University, man. There's so much content out there for any subject you want to improve on for you to be able to use it. It's not about us not having the resources. Tony Robbins says this all the time. It's about us not being resourcefulness, right? Like, we don't utilize what's there for us. We're in a world now to where 50 years ago, man, like, this stuff would blow Andrew Carnegie, like all these big time players back then, it would blow their mind what we have right now. They'd be like, you guys are the laziest people ever. Like, it's all there for you to take it. So just immerse yourself. It's pretty much my long answer to that question. And immerse yourself and go all in on becoming the best you can be.
Definitely. I mean, that Carnegie book really, it changed a lot for me. I only got one thing out of that book. I've read it 5 times. And the one change I really did on that was I just started saying people's names more. It changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Things like that, when I read a book, things like that, that's why I read. Just it's one sentence in there, it changes everything.
One little nugget, man. That's crazy how that has impacted you so much and helped you with your journey. From reading something 5 times, you had one thing that stuck out. Like, that's what you have to realize with personal development. You're not going to read and rehearse and remember the entire book. Like, there's just going to be 1, 2, 3 gold nuggets. Let those, and you'll know when they come to you. It'll just kind of click, a light bulb will go off.
Oh, yeah.
On those. That's the key to it. That's the key to personal development, in my opinion. Not remembering the book, but taking those key points that stick with you and knowing that they are sticking with you for a reason, hammering down on those aspects that you know could be impactful with what you're doing.
Definitely. So let's go back into your business now. I mean, I can talk about mindset all day, but when it comes, it's 100% important. But I mean, even that Carnegie book, it was written in the 40s, the 50s? I mean,
I think so, man. Long time ago.
It's an old book, and it's still things like that. I mean, I still read real estate investing books from the 90s. I still get great info from that. But yeah, so what would you say if I had a pie chart of your entire business here? What is your biggest piece from marketing, you would say? What channel?
Oh yeah, easy. I had a interview with David Lecco of Dill Machine recently, and it's definitely driving for dollars, man. Being able to be out in the fields and seeing the inventory firsthand. We're also starting to implement virtual drive for dollars. So literally, if you have a Dill Machine account, you get a VA. VA means virtual assistant. You can find them on Upwork, tons of different spots, or get someone in-house, or you do it yourself. You always need to do things yourself before you teach someone, just FYI. But man, Drive for Dollars is game changing. It's a list that you cannot buy anywhere else. It's your own list. It's eyes on properties that may not show up, like a vacant property. Well, this may show owner occupied, but when you see it, there's signs of vacancy. That's a list that's not showing up on any other vacant list that people are actually buying. Right? So Drive for Dollars, man, last year was like 44 of our 97 deals. It is a huge, huge, huge impactful marketing strategy, and we've hammered down on that. Any market we go to and scale to, Dill Machine has the ability to have an infrastructure, to have your own training and set it up the way you want it to, and have like a link you send a new, we call them market analysts. And so I highly recommend, if you're starting out or if you already have a team, definitely, if you're not already, add that piece into it, because it's an integral part of making sure that you're getting leads that no one else can get.
Definitely. So where are the other marketing strategies you've been using then?
Yeah, so whenever we're talking about marketing strategies, I just want to make sure I understand the question right. Are you talking about the actual lead sources or the actual marketing like channels that we're going after? For example,
so bandit signs, cold calling, direct mail.
Okay. Yeah. So we do have appointment setters, which are always making the calls. Our acquisition manager are also doing a lot of outbound attempts. In our organization, we've got a goal. I used to think of like KPIs and very complex methods. Instead, I broke it down. I was like, look, every day we want to get 25 connections. That's our threshold. You're talking to, what is a connection? It's a decision maker of a home. No matter if they're interested or if they're not interested, you want to aim for 25 connections. From there, we can see how many calls it's going to take. We utilize services like Mojo, being able to use skip tracing services like Batch Skip Tracer to be able to really like dive in, take these Dill Machine leads or any other marketing efforts we have, skip trace those numbers, we print out the sheets, and sometimes we'll do it old fashioned. Instead of doing it on Mojo, we'll just have sheets in front of us and we'll just be calling one after another, boom, boom, boom. And so that's been a huge aspect of it, man. Our acquisition managers, our appointment setters, we've got what we call our front line, which is SMS specialists. So they handle some of the text messaging aspect of it and doing that in the right manner, which has been a very huge part. But you want to make sure when you're doing SMS, you don't want to just not put them into a folder. If you've got to a certain point, they're willing to talk to you, but they don't respond, right? So you need to have a system where when they get to that point, you're making outbound calls, you're putting them into a follow-up, and you're nurturing that lead. Because fortune is in the follow-up, and you never want to go off of just like finding someone that's ready to sell right then and there. It's about building that relationship. It's like 6-7 times as far as a touch goes to be able to convert in any type of sales industry on average. And so you want to make sure if someone's willing, here's my 2 cents. If someone's willing to talk to you, and if someone says anything that says the house may need a little bit of work, or if you foresee a future problem, if they're not interested right now, add them to your follow-ups. Trust me on that. You do not let those go to the wayside. Nurture those leads, because in due time, it's all timing in this business. They may not be ready month 1, month 2, XYZ may happen, and now they're just waiting for you to reach out to them and call them. And if you're not implementing that into a CRM or follow-up system, you're going to be very upset with calling them 3-4 months and realize it's already been sold.
So when you said cold calling, you have people cold calling. Are these in-house?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've got them in-house. I've also got a few virtual assistants that do cold calling. I've tried the virtual model on a lot of different methods, and it's very difficult for quality control, for motivation. And so in-house is a little bit more expensive, but being able to train and have them hear people that have been here for a while and understand how we're talking to them and really get the gist of prospecting, it takes a lot of the guesswork out. It makes the return on investment a lot better than someone that's virtual, that the attrition rate's pretty high as well. Okay,
and do you do any direct mail at all?
So I do direct mail. I need not much. So here's why I do direct mail. So I'll do about 10,000 pieces every 2 months, I think is what we have it set up right now. And I only do direct mail through our Dill Machine efforts. So when we're in Dill Machine, we're tagging properties like vacant. We have one called asterisk owner occupy, which means someone lives there, but it's very run down. And then like empty lots. So I literally just hired someone on to where he's focusing his sole job is calling all the empty lots. He's been a builder in the past, and we're going to be building that department out in our company as well, to where he's focusing on the lot acquisitions, because it's a huge niche that a lot of people aren't focusing on. They're just focusing on the homes. We're also about to start a manufactured home campaign. There's hedge funds in almost every single market that only thing they do is they buy mobile homes and they rent them out, they owner finance them. Like, they're there. Do some studying on the MLS, prompt stream, whatever it may be, and then add those channels in there. And like, don't just think you have to go after single family or duplex or triplex or quadruplexes. Like, there's opportunities and cash flow to be made from so many different investors that most people just kind of put to the wayside. And so, remind me of your question again.
Do you use direct mail?
Yo, direct mail, yes. we use direct mail, but it's only through deal machine efforts, right?
Okay.
Lots, the vacant properties, the asterisk owner occupied, and we try to get about 10,000 of those and combine them every 2 months is what we do. And with those coming back, if we get a call on direct mail and it turns into a lead, that's great. But the reason we do a lot of direct mail, man, is for what we call yellow tags. So like, when you're seeing direct mail, the USPS is pretty much scrubbing your list for you. It's saying, hey, this house is vacant, or this house is temporarily unavailable. So then, boom, we put all those into a separate stack, and we're calling all those.
Those are huge.
Yeah, it's game changing. A lot of people just throw them away, that is the most effective aspect of direct mail, in my opinion. They're not getting that. The guys, USPS individuals telling you what's going on with that property. Now you all have to do is be a detective, go into appraisal district, do your research, and reach out to them, let them know that if they have a problem, you're here to help solve it.
Okay. And if I looked on the other side of the business for you, so are you doing exclusive wholesaling?
No. So we do wholesaling, obviously, to have the transactional, the cash flow coming in, not cash flow, the money coming in to help run the business. We do fix and flips. I do buy and holds, and we're getting ready to start launching owner finance subject to make sure that we're really focusing and capitalizing on our leads. I had a guy, big time player in Dallas named Eddie Speed, and this guy does thousands upon thousands of notes, man, like more experience than I've ever seen in my life. Went to one of his events. He was like, look, if you're a wholesaler, you're probably missing out on 20% of your leads are probably opportunities where you can make $300, $400 cash flow. You just don't have the knowledge to explain it and to structure them the right way. And that really got my wheel spinning.
100%. Yeah. So have you ever got into wholesaling at all?
I do, yeah. So I guess I should have thrown that in there. With wholesaling, I just had a house that we wholesaled. Kind of give you a case study, man. We bought it for $93,500. What I did is I got lending on it, and I ended up putting $10,000 into it. So what did I do with that $10,000? I put brand new windows on there, put a brand new garage, fixed the fascia and the soffit, repainted all of that, and literally just cleaned out the inside of the house, stuck it on the market, and made probably 15, 17K more than what I would have based on wholesaling it. And I know that because we sent it out on wholesaling and got an offer from a very credible investor. I put it on the MLS, which has every investor, people that will usually pay a lot more because they're buying holds out of state. You know, they're not looking at some of these big volume investors that need a certain discount on these houses. And I was able to increase my margins by almost 2x. So it was a pretty good little deal, man, to wholesale. And I've had a lot of success with wholesaling, depending on the area that we're working with, for sure.
Definitely. I mean, that's the main bread and butter for our business. 90% wholesale, 10% wholesale. No, we only wholesale the tight properties that are in like war zones. But yeah, so have you been trying to, you've obviously been trying to get into the fix and flips, you're looking to subject twos, things like that. Are you having any problems trying to find private money, or how are you finding private money?
So with me right now, with the creative side, and this kind of goes back to what I said originally, like I want to make sure I model myself, and I want to learn from people where I can add value on my end, but also learn certain aspects, superpowers that other people have that I don't have, right? And so with that, my goal for a wholesaling company, don't get me wrong, at first it was wholesaling, oh, we can make money. But now I've realized, like, my vision for this is making sure I have a consistent structure to where there's an engine constantly pulling discounted properties out. We're adding major value to homeowners, and now we can start getting really creative with that consistency of deals that are coming in. Wholesaling, fix and flip, owner finance, subject to. And so what we're doing is we're partnering up with a guy here in Dallas, Fort Worth, who's done thousands of owner finance and subject to deals and making it a win-win. You know, he's going to be able to teach us and our team how to talk, how to prospect, the money part, all the stuff that could take a lot of time and cause analysis paralysis. I'm like, man, look, I'm willing to go 50-50 with you on this. Let's make this a win for the next 6 to 12 months. If it works, great. If it doesn't, no hard feelings. We can part ways. And you were able to capitalize on a lot of deals. I was able to learn this, and it's a win-win. So that's what our goal is this year, man. We're starting to really focus on creating more opportunities, not just for our company, but for these owners that we're talking to as well.
Definitely. So are you going – so with your partner here on the subject too, I mean, is he going to be doing the management side of it too, or is it going to be in-house with you?
Yeah, so he is going to be doing the management side, but, you know, like I told him, I want to learn every piece of it. I don't want to have to be blind on any of it because I'm a very system-oriented individual where I like to understand like the big picture of it and then put the right people in the right seat. And so he is going to be managing a lot of that infrastructure at first, but I want to make sure that I'm able to assist on it as much as I can and then eventually be able to build out some departments in our company to focus on the big picture as well.
Definitely. I mean, as a fellow person in my 20s, and you're in their 20s too, I think it's really important people need to understand wholesaling will create active income. That's really good, but you need to use that active income. I'm not going to say passive, but unearned income that is more or less passive, that you don't have to, you know, try to get deals because it's very stressful.
You're always chasing the next deal in wholesaling too. You have to remember that. Like, you're always waiting for that next deal. Marketing, like, there could be up months, down months. Like the true game, and you really do want to understand this, and it's hard to at first, especially when you're starting out. The true game is the cash flow, man. It's wealth generation. You talk to any of the richest of the rich, man, they're not trying to focus on each deal. You can make good money doing that, and it's a great way to start and launch. But in the back of your mind, make sure you've got a plan B to ensure that plan A is going to evolve into you being able to have substantial cash flow coming in to be able to pick your product from what you're creating right now.
Definitely. So in the real estate investing space, you know, we don't talk about politics or sports. People get very divisive, but the most divisive thing I can see in this whole real estate investing in any message board, you go to any RIA, is you got one side saying only do virtual deals, and you got one side saying you got to do it in person. You know, what side are you on when it comes to your acquisitions, guys?
So here's my 2 cents on this. I think virtual can work as long as you have the infrastructure in place and you have the correct boots on the ground. There needs to be a tremendous amount of trust, credibility, and you need to know you can trust that person that's going out there and representing your company on the phones with the appointments, locking it up, inspections, looking at the house, et cetera, et cetera. But with us, man, because it all depends on the situation, we will send it virtually. We know the deal's going to work, but for the most part, we want to get in front of them, build that rapport. And here's another thing. Let's say that we have a price range of being between 80 to 90K, and this homeowner is at 105. If they're at 105, our goal is to get out there and then educate them on the process, build a friend, because you can only do so much on the phone. So
yes,
virtual wholesaling does make sense. I know a lot of people, it can also bring a lot of headaches too. It's a lot of over-promising and under-delivering. It's a transaction coordinator nightmare for a ton of companies. And it can ultimately give you a very bad rep as well. I've seen it hands over hand with several companies that are literally using a formula like 60% of Zillow. And dude, that's just not, this is the home we're dealing with. Like these people, like, don't do that to them. You know, if you're going to do virtual, know your stuff. Make sure you've got someone that could run those numbers on MLS or something that has accurate data. And make sure you have someone that can go in person, be representable, be credible to that homeowner, and make it try to duplicate your current markets process of actually going in person virtually by having the right people and the right boots in the ground. With us going virtual, we're not going to have bricks and mortar at these places. We're going to have our infrastructure here in Dallas, Fort Worth, but we're going to make sure the individuals we work with that are going to be the boots in the ground, that we're going to help, either being a realtor or someone else that may be helping with the photos or going to the house and just dotting our I's, crossing our T's. We want them to be an extension of our company. So if you're going to do it, just make sure you do it the right way. Don't put homeowners in binds. Like, sometimes these people, they don't have the ability to find out a week before that you have to price drop 10, 15K or have to cancel the contract. Like, don't do that. Don't be that company. If you do it, it can end up being a recipe for disaster if you're not doing it in the correct manner. So, short, in-house, man, I really recommend getting belly to belly with the homeowners. I really do. It's traditional. I get it, but man, path of least resistance sometimes is the worst route to go, depending on how you structure it. That's just my 2 cents.
I 100% agree with that. So the hardest part that people are trying to do here is trying to expand, get acquisitions people. I mean, how are you finding and hiring and training your acquisitions people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I use the torpedo method. I invested heavily in a person I knew in my hometown, was a gym coach, very personal guy. I mean, had a lot of grit, a lot of drive, and invested a lot of time in him. And he's been an extension off of me to bring in people that he knew. And then those people had people they knew. Like A players know A players, man. Birds of a feather flock together. And if you want to be able to have great people on your team, it takes a lot of the guesswork out, knowing someone that's legitimate is recommending someone, because like, if they're legit, they're probably recommending someone that's legit too. Like it's very rare they're going to bring someone in that's going to be, not what they're explaining them to be. So that's how I've done it, man. We are going to be doing some hiring, making sure KPIs are in place, and as we expand, making sure that we get people from Indeed, through other references, using Facebook, like build a brand, make sure people can come to a place, create a vision, create a fun environment, and you'll have people reaching out to you constantly. You want to get to the point where you can pick and choose people who are going to be able to work for you. But the biggest thing, man, is my recommendation is starting with someone you know that has all the ability in the world, that doesn't have the entitlement, that ain't looking for $80,000, $90,000 because they have an educational degree from college, and pour into that individual. Make sure they can understand the vision of what you're going after, and then from there, build on that. And that also is going to free you up tremendously, because all the investment you put in them, in due time, they're going to be able to start training the other people that come on. And now you're able to create a structure and a culture where you can really focus on the high-end visionary aspect of the business.
Okay. So what would you say gets you pumped up every morning and gets you just jolted out of bed every morning?
Oh, man. Just knowing like there's just an opportunity to get better. Like I'm so fascinated with the question of like, how far can I go? How far can I go? And I understand as an entrepreneur, here's one thing I've learned, man. There's going to be days where I'm going to not feel like it whatsoever. The drive lowers, I'll have weeks of crazy productivity, and then boom, I hit a wall sometimes. But when that happens, man, that's what's going to separate you. So getting up and reminding yourself like what I'm doing, who I'm trying to become, and realize that, man, this is such a blessing. Being grateful for everything, like understanding when you're able to step out of bed, first thing you should do is say thanks for this opportunity and thanks for another day for me to be able to prove myself and go past the demons that maybe tell me I can't do this or become this or whatever it may be, and use life as a game, because life is such a game. Like, you're obsessed with video games and you're spending 8 hours a day. Like, the true video game is life. Like, this can be the coolest adventure in the world. And once you start changing your perspective and realize you can mold this person, not some animated character, whoever you want, man, every day is exciting to get up to, every single day. And I want to really pour that on to so many people, because we're living in a very complacent world where people feel they're stuck. And man, I want to create a culture and just a movement of saying, hey, you are not stuck. You can achieve literally what you want to achieve if you're willing to change that dialogue up in your head and just get to work, get to action, and embrace those hard times that come. So that's how I get excited.
So you say you're excited for your future here. I mean, have you written down a 1, 5, and 10-year plan for where you want to see yourself in the future?
Yeah, we do EOS, so Entrepreneur Operating System. I got it from Traction, and I stick with 1 and 5. And the reason being, I have for 10 years, I'm not trying. And what we really do, man, we focus on our yearly goals. So I have my 5-year goals, obviously. But the big key for us is saying, hey, what's our yearly goal? And then what are we going to break down each quarter for quarterly rocks? Also, quarterly action items to make sure that yearly goal becomes attainable. So having that 5-year goal for me is, and I really kind of stretch my 10-year to 5 years. It allows me to make sure that I've got pressure on myself. And then from there, I'm breaking that 5-year goal down to those yearly rocks, knowing what's most impactful to get me there. And then, 90 days is about the longest we should go to focus on any to-dos or anything to make sure we're moving in the right direction. You don't want to try a year goal and just look at that the whole time, right? Don't look at the top of the mountain. Look at the first steps. And that's why these quarterly rocks are really important to focus on and hold yourself accountable on as well. We do use that through our entire company.
Definitely. So on your company, what would you say your core values are?
Man, so our core values, I'll tell you exactly what they are. Simplicity, execution, value, Kaizen, trust, and ownership. So Kaizen means consistent improvement from top to bottom. Simplicity, inside operations with the homeowner, make it as simple as possible. Execution, words are cute. No one cares what you say. Only people care what you do. Let's see, simplicity, execution, value. Add value in everything that you do. Be a go-giver and just add value even if it's not with you. Trust me on that. Trust, making sure that you are a truth teller, truth seeker, and you're always coming from a point of truth. And then ownership, like if you're going to do something and say you're going to do it, own it. Like if you made a mistake, own it. Make sure you have that culture. And so we hire, we fire, we reward by our core values. And it's something that I recommend anyone starting a business to really start with on their journey for sure.
Okay. And how do you callous your mind every single day?
I'm going to kind of just copy David Goggins on this, man. I callous my mind with pain and suffering, to be honest with you. Like I push through it no matter how I feel. You're not going to feel good every day. I thought for a long time that, man, the days I feel good on it, that's what I was like counting on. You're not going to feel good every day. You show up, get into action, and action is going to be a cure-all. When you take action, it creates progress. The key to happiness is progress. The only way that's going to happen, though, is if you're taking action. So if you're not feeling like doing something, but you take a little bit of action, man, you're now training yourself to become a person that no matter how they feel is doing it anyways. And now it becomes a lifestyle. So like you need to just take action every day and know what you got to do. Know you're not going to feel like it every day and just show up, get the job done, and watch how you feel after that day's done. You're going to feel like a totally new man, and that mindset of that negativity or that doubt is going to dissipate because you just got to work on what you know you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I love David Goggins. Every time he posts a video or something on Instagram, I end up running an extra mile or two. But yeah, you guys should really check him out. He's got some interesting books. Can't Hurt Me is a good one. It blows my mind. But so we come to the last question. I ask every single podcast guest this in a different way. But basically, since I started 17, I ask every single guy. So if you were a 17-year-old kid living in Aledo, Texas, with no money, what would you do to become the next Justin Peters?
Oh, man. So one thing I would really focus on is realizing like anything that you've grown up with or any failures or any obstacles you face, like that's part of it. Usually who gets anointed the most is the one that goes through the most pressure and the most hardship. So whatever you've gone through or whatever you have conditioned yourself to believe, understand this, you can change that conditioning. Like you can start today with one decision to say, look, I'm going to start reading books. I'm going to start studying people. If you're happy, you've got it figured out. Trust me. If you're happy and you're making $20,000 a year, like, dude, you're winning the game. I promise you that. Happiness is the cure-all. But if you're not happy, you've got something inside of you that's saying, man, I know I can be more. I know I want more, but you're not moving in that direction. Get to work on it. Get to action. Know you're capable of doing it, and know that just each day, it's one day at a time, 1% better at a time. 1 year later, you focus on that, you're 365% better. 2 years later, you start to see how this just it folds on itself and compounds on itself. And so my biggest key is knowing this, no matter what grades you've made, no matter what your parents have gone through or what they've achieved in their life, you can change it all. You can change your entire family line by just saying, hey, this is who I want to become. And I'm going to commit to never, ever stopping on this journey because I know I'm capable of it. I'm going to prove to myself and everybody else I have that ability, because if one man or woman can do it, so can I. That's my biggest advice to a 17-year-old.
The question is, what would you do?
What would I do?
To get your deals and become the next Justin Peters.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, there is part of it. I would do that. I would have that mindset. Without that mindset, none of this other stuff is going to matter. What I would do, though, is I would start learning from people that have been there and that have done it. If you don't have the money, get on YouTube. Like, start immersing yourself in this stuff. Then once you get a certain amount of money, save up, get a credit card, whatever you need to do, sink your ships and start learning from someone that you know is going to be able to get you to that next level. If it's a mentor, if it's a course, start going and driving for dollars, man, writing it down on a notepad. If you don't have money to do any of that, man, go to a garage sale and flip some stuff. Use the Gary Vee style. Like there's no excuses on it. Like you can make all this happen. If you can't afford Mojo, I was telling Brett Daniels, it's like, man, just get on your phone and call people. It's not it's there. Like all this stuff is there, and all you need to do is take action on it. Go out there and start. With me, I would just start with driving for dollars, and I would start personal development every single day and making sure that you have a certain goal that you're going to hit every day and strive to hit that goal and know in due time it's going to pay off. I promise. Just stick with the plan, trust the process.
Wow, definitely. That's awesome. So before we sign off here, do you have any parting thoughts to my audience?
Oh man, just keep watching this guy. This dude, 17 years old, he did. I didn't even know what $100,000 was when I was 17 years old. This is someone you want to make sure you stick with. He's immersed himself. It goes back to a lot of what I've said. Like, you can tell you've committed to doing this stuff, man. And like, you've got an incredible passion to contribute, to add value to others, and to also make sure that you're always pushing limits yourself, humbling yourself. So like, my parting words is anyone that's watching this, man, like, surround yourself, watch yourself with people like this cat right here, and make sure that like you understand who you're surrounding yourself with is going to be the epitome of who you're going to be evolving and transitioning into as well. So even if you're in a hometown and you don't have people like that, man, you've got the resources, YouTube, all this stuff. Like, listen to these cats. These are the ones that are going to allow you to separate yourself and realize if they're doing it, so can you, man. Like, trust me on that. My parting words too is go after what you want in life. Don't give up on it, and know you're capable of it, man. That's my biggest key of advice. You can do it. Don't let the limiting voice beat you. Every day, let that winner voice be just a little bit louder than that loser voice you have, and continue on that path and know you're capable of anything you want to go after. That's my biggest advice for anyone, man.
I'm pumped. That's awesome. So, oh yeah. So I can't wait to have you on next year when you tell me you're doing 300 subject to deals and you got this crazy bigger empire. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's it. So I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks when we got our next guest on. Zach Ginn signing out.